G'day guys, welcome back to the Fon Supercoach YouTube channel. Today we will be doing a brief team update as well as discussing the team building challenges in the Supercoach 2026 preseason, and we will look at some ownership trends at the end of the video. So just quickly, sorry for the lack of videos recently. To be honest, there hasn't been much information out there at the moment regarding the preseasons. A lot of the teams have only been back for a couple of weeks. We don't have much match sims going on at the moment, etc., etc. I've been in Japan, so that's the reason that I haven't been uploading videos. But yeah, wishing you all, hoping you all had a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. Whatever you celebrate, I hope you've been enjoying your time and the summer. There's obviously a bit of a heat wave in the last week, so hopefully you all were okay in that. And yeah, let's get into the team update. So I'm really only going to be talking about premiums and mid prices in this because we don't have a lot of information on rookies. So I don't think it's worth talking about. We're going to get a lot of information about rookies over the next few weeks. Obviously, the practice game is going to tell us a lot, and then round zero as well. I'll provide updates as I can with those. But as it is right now, there's not a lot of information to go on. But yeah, the team update. So the first sort of change I've made is I've taken Nick Dacos out of the midfield because I don't really like his schedule. And I've changed that to Jack Sinclair. So why have I done this? The main reason is I don't think we're going to have more than two rookies in defense that are capable of producing fieldable scores. Now, I could roll the dice and say, look, I'm going to put three defenders in there. One of them's going to drop off, but then I lose my buffer. So I just rather take a primo that I think is not really overpriced, is not max value. And that's Sinclair or Whitfield for me. They're the ones that I really like. Obviously, Sinclair's buy isn't as good as Whitfield's. We'll discuss that as we go. I could very easily see myself switching this to Lockie Whitfield. The next change that I have is I have Finn Callahan. I'm not exactly sure. I think this is mostly from Will Day, who sadly did his shoulder. That's very unfortunate. Found cash in other places to turn him into Finn Callahan. So, why Finn Callahan? If you look at his scores from last year, obviously round zero he went well. But yeah, he has 4 games here in rounds 1 to 5 where his scoring isn't great, all under 105. And then if you go from round 6 onwards, he misses 3 games in here. I can't really remember what that injury was. He has 1 score under 100 from here. 1 score under 100. That floor is unbelievable. And my philosophy with the premiums you want to start is you want to take the guys who don't really have a low floor because they don't create... The guys who have a higher floor tend to create a greater opportunity to trade them in the sense that one floor game and all of a sudden they're dropping 100k. I'll use Jordan Dawson as an example, who's capable of dropping, 60s and 70s for whatever reason. But that's the sort of guy you don't want to start because you can get him in much cheaper later on. Finn Callahan's floor, he's not giving you an opportunity to trade him in. If the lowest score he goes in the whole year is 95, obviously he's got these scores up here, which you could argue I'm conveniently ignoring them. But even with those factored in, he's gone 112, which is really good. And that's going to be enough for a primo this year. So I like it. His buys are really good. So yeah, I really like the Finn Callahan pick. The next one I have here is I have Darcy Parish, who's come from Connor Buderick. So Connor Buderick, it looks like he is not going to get the role that people suggested he would, which is a distributing halfback. We'll see. Obviously, we get round zero and a couple of practice matches to fully confirm that. But I've brought Parish in. I really glossed over Parish in my last video because of the injury history. But the reality with Parish is that for what he can do, he is extraordinarily cheap. Like, he probably only needs 60% CBAs and he'll get to 500k, which is a smashing pick. So I'm willing to go with the ownership trend in this one. I would love to not pick him. So he may give me a reason this preseason. He may not. Sorry about that. But yeah, we'll see. And then the last major change to my side is I've shifted Gawn to Tim English. There's 2 reasons for that. The first is cash. Pretty self-explanatory. The second is I think that Max Gawn gets rested at some point this year. Melbourne's first buy is in round 16. They're the only team who don't have a bye until round 16. So, yeah, I just expect him to get rested. I think the philosophy for Melbourne is going to be, hey, if we can preserve Max Gawn so that he can extend the peak of his powers by 1 year, well, we're going to take that. So that's my philosophy. I think he could get managed more than that. I'm not really sure. We might see a bit of Max Heath, a bit of Tom Campbell. Not sure. But that is why I don't have Max Gawn. I will say that I am very, 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 very worried about watching my own team play when I don't own Max Gawn, because not owning the guy on your team who is killing you in Supercoach can make it harder to watch your own team throughout the season. So, yeah, I don't know. That's Gawn. That's why I've got English. So, let's discuss some team building struggles or challenges, as I like to call it. So, I think each line has its own unique challenge. So, I'm going to go through them all one by one. I'm actually going to start with the buys though. So, let me just get that. So, okay. So, here we go. The 2026 buys. So, round 2, I don't think there's many relevant players here. Obviously, there's going to be Nick Dacos on this one. Not many primo or mid-price players here. Same with Geelong. Some people might have Tanner Bruhn. I'm going to wait till round 0 before I even think about Tanner Bruhn, if I'm going to be totally honest. And then some people may have Will Ashcroft or Josh Dunkley. But overall, this buy is not too bad. Round 3 is where people are going to get got. So this is Petrarca. I'm going to speak players that I expect to be highly owned purely here. So we've got Petrarca, Treloar, Bont's always highly owned, and I think Tim English will have a bit of ownership, and Errol Goulden. I think you're not going to want too many players on this buy, is what I'm going to say. This is one of the reasons I don't have Petrarca at the moment, is I don't think I can stomach it with the round 3 and round 12 buys being so bad. But he will probably go gangbusters early, which is going to be a hard watch. It may have me consider not picking Tim English because I really like Errol Goulden, but it also might have me consider not picking Errol Goulden. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to do some more fixture assessment. We're going to see some roles, etc., for Errol as well in the preseason. And then round 4, Giants and Saints. Everyone's going to have Flanders. People are probably going to have 2 Giants or Saints primos as well. I think Nazai is going to be highly owned. I think people will have one of Nazai and also a Finn Callahan or a Lockie Whitfield in many cases. So yeah, that's going to be... that buy's not going to be great either, but not as bad as this round 3. The real doozy buy is round 12. There's 12 premiums. 12 potential premium picks on these buys. Dawson, Rankin, Petrarca, Rao, Anderson, Sheasel, Cherry, McKercher, and Luke Davies-Uniacke, who I think is pickable. I know others will disagree with me, but that's my view. And then Butters, Rozee, and Bergman. 12 guys. What does this mean? So I'm of the view that in Supercoach, that first buy, you want to avoid having buy premiums on that buy as much as possible. There's 2 reasons for this. Firstly, the ideal strategy in the buys is to have 18 premiums on the field. Now, obviously, that's very hard to do by round 12. No arguments there. Round 16 is a bit easier to do. In round 12, let's say you start upgrading in round 6. That's when your first upgrade comes through. I'm just going to count the premiums on my team that I anticipate I will have at round 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now, if I have done 6 upgrades, if I've started upgrading in round 6, so I've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's 7. So I've got 20 premiums, right? If I have 6 that are out, all of a sudden, I've got 14 premiums. Now, if I have Parrish and Hayden Young, then I've got 16 fieldable scores, and I think Mateus Filippo has a good chance of putting up premium numbers as well. So I've got 17. Now I just have to find one rookie then that can score, another mid-price, so maybe I'm lucky and I have an extra premium. I don't know, but ideally you want 18 good scores in that round that aren't good scores and not rookies, basically. That can be very hard to do with 6 premiums already that you've started. Now, I've seen teams with 8 premiums, so teams could have a Jordan Dawson instead of a Finn Callahan and a Christian Petrarca. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to really struggle to get anywhere near 18 premium type scores, premium or mid-pricer scores in that buy round. So that is a real struggle. The other side of that is that's just considering players you're starting. You cannot trade into any of the guys with this buy round, is what that means. Now, that means if Raul or Anderson drops a stinker, 2 stinkers in a row, for example, in like round 8 and 9, those are going to be priced out of them by the time that you can even think about upgrading them. Jordan Dawson's the same. Isaac Rankin's the same. Like, it's this buy is really punishing. So I would advise people to not have more than 6 in that buy. I think people are arguing, oh, look, if the players value enough, you should pick them anyway. But you can get hammered in that buy round if something... It just takes one thing to go wrong when that buy round comes around, and all of a sudden you are going to plummet ranks and you're going to get really punished for what goes on in that buy round. So I'm of the belief that you don't want more than 6 on that first buy because A, they're the best guys to upgrade into. Obviously, there's heaps of guys you can upgrade into on that buy, so that's not really a concern this year. But B, the score you get in round 12, it's going to hurt because in those other buys, you're not really going to struggle to field 18 premium type scores, in my opinion. This round 13 buy, Richmond have no premium players. Let's be honest. Maybe Sam Banks, if you're that way inclined. I don't believe Sam Banks is going to be a premium scorer this year, I'll be honest. But what that means is that this GWS double buy is much less bad because you might have you may have 18 guys who can score on this buy that are premium type scorers based on your mid prices. That's kind of good. I really want Whitfield over Sinclair now, I'm going to be honest. But yeah, and then like round 14, you're going to have Dacos. You're going to want him before this buy, and you're going to have 1 to 2 Fremantle premiums probably. I'm including Hayden Young there. And then round 15 is not too bad. You got these teams, Brisbane, Essendon, and Sydney. We'll see how many of those guys are relevant this year. I expect Dunkley to be. I could definitely see Will Ashcroft being relevant. I could definitely see Jai Caldwell being relevant. And then obviously there's Goulden and Grundy. And Harley Reid if you like. And then this round 16 buy is kind of tough as well because you got all the Dogs players, you got all the Saints players, and you got Max Gawn. So yeah, this one's going to be tough to navigate too, if we're being very honest. But yeah, that's buys. The main one is round 12. Round 12 absolutely sucks. So yeah, I would be avoiding this buy as much as possible. But I know that is an opinion that many don't have. Let's talk team building challenges. So as I said, each line has its own unique issues with team building. So in defense, I sort of mentioned briefly before, but I don't think we're going to get 3 fieldable rookies. So what do I mean by fieldable rookie? It's essentially a rookie who can go 65-ish plus. That's really what we're looking for on field. Who knows what we can get? I know Sarong scored well in the VFL, but we don't know what role he's going to get in the AFL. Brady Hoff just went down, which may mean that Lindsay gets more footy, but based on Track Watch's reports, he's not getting a heap of footy. Gibcus can score, but he's not a ball user. Moniz Wakefield, I'm not even convinced plays, but obviously there's going to be some other guys that pop up. There's Euland here. We'll see. Euland's probably too expensive, but anyway, I don't want to waste too much time talking about rookies because, as I said, I don't know much about them. But I think it's pretty unlikely we get 2. It's probably unlikely we get 2 fieldable defender rookie scorers, let alone 3. So that's why I've gone for a Sinclair or a Whitfield, as well as the 3 more value guys. But yeah, that's the challenge with defense, in my opinion. And then in the midfield, I think there's a lot of these Sarong, Goulden type price players. So there's also Caldwell, Will Ashcroft, Luke Davies-Uniacke. I think nailing the right ones of these guys is going to be quite important because I think at face value, you can look at a lot of these guys and say, wow, these guys are so cheap. Why don't we load up on this guys? Caleb Sarong averaged 120 a couple seasons ago. Errol Goulden does 115 when he has 40% plus CBAs. Jai Caldwell with 60 plus % CBAs does 115. Will Ashcroft with 60 plus % CBAs does 120. You can make all these arguments for them. Luke Davies-Uniacke is capable of putting out 115 scores as well. You can make an argument for any of these guys, but the likelihood of all of those eventuating is very slim. And I think being stuck with the wrong guy is going to be punishing. Obviously, Sarong went 105 last year. I think people are quite scared about that. There's also the rule changes, which looks like it will favour transition scorers more than these more inside types. So yeah, we're going to see. we're going to see with Caleb Sarong. So I will say that he did not score well against West Coast last year. Oh wait, he has Geelong, Melbourne, Richmond. Okay, scratch that. Sorry, I'm going off track and I'm rambling. But yeah, you can make arguments for fading all of these guys. You can make arguments for starting all of them. I think 1 to 2 are going to go well, so it's about picking the right ones. And then it's like, do you want Harley Reid? And I think Harley Reid is an interesting discussion because if he was a forward, I think he would be much more highly owned because there's a good chance he's a forward primo. He'll give you 90 plus. So yeah, that's why. Like, I would love to pick Reid over Parrish or Treloar, but yeah, we'll see how we go with that. And then the rucks. The main issue for people with the rucks is going to be does Max Gawn get rested? Because I think if we can all say, hey, look, Max Gawn is going to play 23 games this year, we'd all pick him. Like, it's Max Gawn. He is getting old though, so there is maybe we wouldn't all pick him if he's getting 23 games. But the second thing is the rule changes. So for those who are unaware, there are 3 rule changes that will affect the rucks. So the first one is the last touch out of bounds rule. St Kilda came out and said that we expect this to be 3 stoppages a game. I reckon it could be even less than that. Basically, this is just to remove the furor around the insufficient intent rule. It's to make it easier for umpires. Hey, this ball wasn't touched. We're giving it to the other team. Easy. I think it's a rule that makes sense because a lot of the frustration with supporters comes around that insufficient intent rule. Good change. Will it affect Supercoach much? I don't think so. 2 to 3 stoppages a game. It's not much. The next rule change that will affect rucks is, or that may affect rucks, I should say, is the umpires are now no longer waiting for them when they get to the stoppages. So what will this mean? It will mean that rucks get more tired. That's reality. They're going to be having to run 2 stoppages faster, essentially. Now, if you watch a ruckman in transition, they don't, and I'm talking when they don't have the ball because no one is giving the ruckman the ball during transition. Let's make that abundantly clear. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But if you watch them, they get to the center square and they just run on the side of the center square that the ball is on. So if the wing's on the left hand, if the ball's on the left hand wing, the ruckman is running inside the center square on the left hand side. That way they limit the amount of running they have to do to get to the stoppages. They're still going to do that. I think what we will see is less rucks taking forward stoppages, but we're already not really seeing that, I think. I actually don't think any team's ruckmans are taking forward stoppages. So what that means is maybe the rucks don't get to a couple of ruck contests a game. That's what I think will happen. Again, we're talking, 4 stoppages now that rucks aren't getting? It's not affecting much. I think Cherry, most would say, was underpriced based on those 3 hamstring injury affected games. They're probably going to outweigh the ruck changes themselves, the full health games for Tristan Cherry. The last one, and I think this one's actually the most relevant, which is the change to the way that the centre bounce works. So it's no longer a bounce, it's a throw up. But basically there are 2 things that a ruck now has to do, or can't do, I should say, at the centre bounce, which is firstly, they can't cross the centre line and just grapple with the other ruck. And the second one is they can't make contact with the other ruck before making contact with the ball. That second one may increase free kicks because I'm pretty sure that's what the rule already was, but I don't know if it was being adjudicated enough. But the second one is far more relevant, I think. So we're going to see some ruckmen that can't jump get phased out. I think there's been a lot of discussion around Riley O'Brien and Lachlan McAndrew because I think it's Lachlan McAndrew. But basically, Riley O'Brien can't jump. Now, and I know that will surprise no one who's watched Rob play, but he cannot jump. Now, he's very good at getting around the ground, and McAndrew probably isn't. But if he can't compete in the centre bounces, I would suggest that some coaches will not want their ruckman to be dead weight in the centre bounce, which may, as I said, see some rucks getting phased out. But I think it works in an advantage to those jumping tap ruckmen like your Max Gawns, your Tim Englishes, who generally hasn't had high hit-outs to advantage, but with these rules, those will probably go up. But like obviously Luke Jackson and Tom DeConing, those types as well, you can argue whether or not those are relevant for Supercoach. I believe they're not at this stage, whatever. But yeah, I think that rule will actually impact rucks the most. But I think it will mainly impact rucks in the selection. Like, Lloyd Meek's not really a jumper. Do Hawthorn now play Ned Reeves as well? How much is Ned Reeves? That's a good question. It's $242. It's probably too expensive, but like, that's what I mean. Like, some of these rucks, you know, is Cherry going to struggle to win hit-outs to advantage at the centre square? Like, probably, but it won't really affect him around the ground because he can still grapple then. But, you know, is that worth considering? So I think, ultimately, I think the reaction to the ruck rules has been too much. I think we're too concerned about it. That being said, I would love to spend this $700K somewhere else. But yeah, we'll see. And then in the forward line, it's really about the mid prices. So obviously, a lot of you are going to have Flanders and Treloar. But Josh Rochelli's popped up recently, getting CBAs in the match teams at Adelaide. Connor McDonald getting the Warple type CBAs at Hawthorn. Like, how many of these guys are you going to take? How feasible are they? You know, they're the questions we've got to ask ourselves, because the reality is, if Rochelle and McDonald get CBAs, they're probably going to be premiums. Like, if they get high enough CBAs, like probably 60% or 50% maybe. I will say that I think Rochelle is unlikely to be the premium out of those two, but like Connor McDonald, for those who are unaware, in Connor McDonald's draft year, there was one player who averaged more fantasy points than him, and that was Nick Dacos. Now, obviously, we know what Nick Dacos is, but that means he has the accumulation pedigree, Connor McDonald. He hasn't been exposed to many centre bounces so far in his career, but he has what it takes to score with the centre bounces. So that's what I would suggest. He's who I think is the most interesting mid-pricer that I don't have in my team. Can I spell? What did he average last year? These are things I should know. What is this, about 70? Yeah, 70.4. So he would need like a 20 points per game bump from the CBAs. I don't know. This is one that people could get sucked into in the opening round match, but we will see. So yeah, they're all the team building issues that I am feeling at least. So fieldable defender rookies, mid-prices in the midfield and the forwards, rucks in general, and obviously the buys, particularly round 12. But yeah, let's look at some ownership trends. I haven't really looked at this much, I will be honest. Is this... Yeah, that looks right. So let's filter out the rookies. Pick Jagger Smith, that's all I'll say on rookies. You know what, I'm going to do... let's do this. All right. So 20.9% of the competition is not playing to win. Please pick Harry Sheezel. It's that simple. He's value. He's got DPP. He's got no early buy. He's durable. There's no reason not to pick this guy. So please just pick him. It's worth noting that for captain's options, if you have Sheezel and Butters, which I think many people will, you probably don't need another captain's option until you start upgrading. Just thought I'd want to put that one out there. I'll probably mention that when we get to Bont as well. Flanders, please pick Flanders. Rosie being the most picked premium defender, I am not surprised about. I think he's the only one that offers value and guaranteed top 6. So yeah, really like that. Obviously, Port Adelaide have a fantastic early fixture as well. Nazaya, Wanganeen, Millera. This is going to be an interesting pick. So 56% of the comp they have Nazaya. He averaged 115 last year. So the reason I don't have Nazaya, and I'm not begrudging this pick. I think this pick is totally fine. He's guaranteed to be top 3 defender. Like, let's be honest. It's top 3. Guaranteed. He's fun to watch. He's really good at footy. All those things. Everything goes in his favour. Now, my issue with Nazaya is that it's twofold. Firstly, I'm not really 100% sure what his role is. I believe in the midfield he scores better. But a lot of those midfield games, there was quite a bit of scaling as well. Obviously, there's the Melbourne game, which I would rather not relive. But in the other ones, there's a fair bit of scaling as well. My main issue with Nazaya is, if you're playing against St Kilda and you have a tagger on your team, why wouldn't you go to Nazaya? Like, if you look at the taggers, so GWS have used Bedford. They didn't use him much at the end of the season. Port Adelaide have used a combination of Drew. They put some other, I'm going to use the term plotter, on Tom Stewart at one point as well. I don't even know if he's still on the list. But like, there's a few taggers running around still. There's not as many as there was. Obviously, there's Geelong. But they don't play Geelong until round 19. So it's probably not really relevant. You're going to have him by then. Sydney as well. But yeah, the first time they play Sydney is in 13. Wow, this fixture's actually... His fixture's not that good post-bye. Interesting. But he'll probably cane you early. So yeah, I don't know. I think with Nazar, I'm likely to get him cheaper at some point. I don't know when that'll be. But I do think it will happen. Just based on tags. He also had this game last year against West Coast where he just like randomly kicked the ball really badly and dropped a stinker. But that was his only game below 84. Maybe I need to rethink this. I don't know. Anyway, that's Nazar. I'm not begrudging people who will pick him. I think he's going to be hard pressed to do more than 115 though. Is all I will say. But yeah, Zach Butters, again, like super good run, easy captain's option. Not surprised that this guy is highly owned. Hayden Young, promising mid-pricer, just has to get through the preseason. I would expect that number to jump. Cherry, again, I'm not surprised that he's highly owned. I do think this is not as much of a lock as this ownership percentage shows, but people don't like stuffing around in the ruck line. It brings them pain. He was the best ruckman last year. Why not? He was second best behind Max, but yeah, he had those 3 injury-affected games. So Kadeem Coleman is 50%. This really surprises me. So there was a rumour going around that Coleman would play in the forward line based on someone's discussion with Chris Fagan at something. I don't know. I doubt that happens. What I think will happen is actually that there won't be a spot in the side for him. So I'm expecting Draper to come in as a second ruck, and obviously there's Oscar Allen and whatnot. I just think that if you have Zorko, Fletcher, and Wilmot already in there, like, why you're going to have... I don't know how long Ainsworth's out for, I guess, but I presume, like, Duday or someone plays over Ainsworth until he comes back. But, like, where does Coleman fit in? Does Fletcher get pushed back to the wing? Does Zorko get moved? Like, I'm just not sure where he fits in. If he goes well in opening round, I will obviously pick because we know what Coleman can do. But, like... I just don't see how he gets in the side at the moment, to be honest. So, Desmond's a rookie, but I would expect this ownership percentage to drop come round 1. Petrarca, I spoke about before. I really like this pick, but the buys are so awkward. But if you're going to get Petrarca, you want this early fixture, which is West Coast, Richmond, Melbourne, Essendon in 4 of the first 6 weeks, including the bye. Like, yeah... You're going to want him for these games. You could argue, like, particularly Richmond and West Coast, like, those are cupcake fixtures. And Melbourne's midfield is going to be weak, and I think their defence is going to be weak too. Obviously, Sydney's going to be a bit harder to score against. Maybe Essendon is. I don't know. Hawthorn have typically been difficult, and then who knows with the Giants, but... Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a tough fade, I think. I think I'm going to have to go with it. Colby McKercher... Yeah, I'm surprised this isn't higher. If this guy plays halfback, he's like 105 minimum locked. Like, absolutely locked. And then Chalor, this has probably gone down because of the slight hamstring injury he sustained today. But yeah, really not surprised by this ownership percentage either. I think this will be less come round 1. Because I think I have a feeling the role's not going to be as good as what we think it will be at the moment. If you look at the Dogs midfield, so... Bond and Richards are going to be in there. They're going to be 1 and 2, you would think. They've got Libba and Chalor who are aging, and they're probably going to start to phase out. And they've also got Kennedy, Fraser, and potentially even Sanders. Like, I don't know what this midfield mix will look like. That being said, if you're the guy starting in half forward, you're probably moving up the ground a fair bit. But the centre bouncers help with the scoring. I don't know. It's very hard to see what Trelaw's role will look like at the moment. But he scores really well, and he's sort of a no-brainer at 311k. And then Parrish, like, as I said, if he gives you a reason not to pick him in the preseason, his ownership percentage will plummet. Nick Dacos, 32.5%. Again, not really surprised. Like, I mean, it's Nick Dacos. I will say his early fixture is not good. So Adelaide's whatever, but it's like probably a tag against GWS. I would anticipate Brisbane sending someone to him at points in this game. Freo, do they use Wagner again? I don't know. Like, teams pull taggers out of their ass for Nick Dacos. So at some point, I think I said this last year, at some point he's going to start beating the tags. The question is when. And I just don't think it's this season. I think he's going to need a couple preseasons to get there. Just he doesn't have a lot of help around him in that midfield. It's a lot of older, slower guys. The other guy who's in there that's not old or slow is Josh Dacos, who's not really an inside type. So, yeah, I don't know. It's hard with Nick Dacos. There's also, like, if you go to upgrade season, round 9 and round 10 is Geelong, Sydney. Like, what are the odds that those teams don't tag him? Like, pretty slim. And also, Hawthorn has typically beat up on him as well. So, yeah, look, we'll see. And then Errol, 32%. I spoke about Errol. Not surprising. We'll see the role. I'm surprised Draper is so high. I'm expecting double rucks for Brisbane. I just don't see a world where that doesn't happen. And he's also coming off the Achilles. He had foot soreness today and missed the match sim. Not worried about it. Or today. Might have been Friday. I don't know. Anyway, that's not going to affect him. But I do think that this ownership percentage is quite high. I think Brisbane may get to the point in the season where Hipwood's back and their forward line looks like Gallup, Hipwood, what's the other guy? Oscar Allen, and then Draper in the ruck. And I think at that point he's a primo, but I think starting him may not be great. His early fixture is also Grundy, St Kilda double rucks, and Collingwood. Wait, and then he goes Cherry, Gawn, Riley O'Brien. Okay, he's actually got a terrible fixture. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Draper's fixture sucks. I don't know that you can pick this. To be honest, I'm not sure about that one. But yeah. And then Jamara's at 23%. I'm not convinced Jamara plays in round 1, if I'm going to be honest. He's missed so much footy. There's just I just don't see him being match fit. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Jamara. Obviously, if he plays with their run, you sort of have to pick because it's West Coast, Richmond, Melbourne, Essendon in 4 of the first 6. And as a cash maker, like, I don't know, that's all you want to see. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Jamara. Luke Jackson, 22%. I'm a bit surprised about this with Sean Darcy there. The match sim reports, the first one said when he wasn't playing in the ruck, he was playing forward. The second one said when he wasn't playing in the ruck and Sean Darcy wasn't hurt, he was playing as a full-time centre-bounce midfielder. I don't know. I can't get a read on this, to be honest. I'll leave it at that. I think if Sean Darcy, for whatever reason, goes down for like 10 to 12 week period, this is an absolute no-brainer start. I think if Sean Darcy wasn't at Fremantle, he would be R1. I guess the other question with that is, if Darcy goes down, do they bring Cox in? Which, I don't know why Longmuir does this, where he plays the 3 tall forwards and and Jackson and Darcy. Like, it's Amos, Tracy, Voss, Jackson and Darcy. I just don't get it. I know Jackson's versatile and I know he's mobile, but I think the usage is so weird of him. But yeah, as I said, if this guy is picked and if Sean Darcy's out for 10 to 12 weeks, I will pick this guy. No brainer. Heaven and earth type thing. Sam Darcy. Okay, this fixture is just not good enough to warrant starting Sam Darcy, I don't think. He went 119 on the Giants. Wow. I know, this guy's good, no doubt. But yeah, I don't know. I think starting key forwards you can always get cheaper. So I think starting this guy is like kind of risky, to be honest. And then Bont, as I said before, like the main reason for starting Bont, he's max priced. If you're starting Bont, he has to give you 135 plus with some massive captain scores in this fixture. Now the fixture is quite good. He scores well. He scores well against every team, obviously. But yeah, as I said, the fixture is quite good. Maybe he just goes bananas. It's possible. I don't know. I think it's unlikely. There's also 3 in the first 5 away from home. He scores really well at Marvel. I don't know. Like, this is not for me. He has to give you 135 and some like spiky captain scores to be worth it at this price. Otherwise, like, you're going to get him at least 50k cheaper, which you could argue is, if he only gets to 650, then it's a win. And I think if you look at last season, he actually didn't get very cheap at all. No, he got under 600. Yeah, I don't know. This is too expensive for mine. Like, if you start Butters and Sheasel, I just don't think you need this captain's option. And then Lawler, 19%. Wow. Second year breakout for a dude who doesn't accumulate is not something that I love a lot. Obviously going to be a good player. He has some really dodgy hamstrings, I believe. Like, I don't know. I think this is not the pick. I'll be honest. Gorn I spoke about when discussing rucks. Just think he's going to get rested at some point. Pickett again. You're going to get Pickett cheaper at some point. Like, he's very up and down. I think he's going to play more in the midfield this year. Now, his CBAs were really high last year. I think 70%. But he was starting the centre bounce and going forward. I think he's going to follow the ball around as a proper on-baller midfielder this year. So there is upside there. You're just going to get him cheaper, in my opinion. English, I think I like because I think the rules favour him. He had a 200 last year, didn't he? Like, right at the end. Yeah, he went 200 on the Giants, who he plays first. And the Giants are still, like, kind of mick. I think if the rule changes were to favour one ruck, it would be English. I'm not really in love with this pick, I will say. I would love to pick Luke Jackson over him, but I just can't do it with Sean Darcy on the side. But yeah, I think English is a good selection. And then Harley Reid, 14%. Again, if this guy was guaranteed to be a forward in round 6, I think this would be 50%. Like, I think he's that good. It's third year. He's looking fit. Like, I think he is a forward primo this year if he gets forward status. But as a midfielder, he's got to get to like 5'10" to be really worth it, I would suggest. Which he probably does. Like, he's playing for West Coast. He's going to have a good fixture. Although the start's probably not great. Like North, Sydney, Geelong, Freo in the first 6. Well, he's gone big on Freo before. And the Saints, yeah. Yeah, we'll see. If he has forward status in round 6, he might be very cheap, to be honest. And you could get him for... Maybe you'd get him after the St Kilda game, but you could get him for a Richmond, Melbourne, GWS, Collingwood, Essendon fixture. And like Port's probably not going to be that hard to score against as well. And then you get North, Carlton. Yeah, he is interesting, no doubt. I'll definitely be... I don't think I'll start him, but I'll be very keen on him if he gets forward status in round 6, as will many. Callahan I spoke about, really low floor, really important to the Giants, really like this pick. Does he get tagged? Well, if you have a look at the taggers, like, who do I think can actually tag him, right? Like, Marcus Windhager probably can. Who's next? Maybe Jared Berry can. I don't know. I'm not really in love with Jared Berry as a tagger, if I'm going to be honest. And then, like, he plays Geelong in round 18. And obviously, I think O'Sheen can tag him if they want to go there. And then the other one is James Jordan, who I think they'd be more inclined to send to Whitfield. So, and I believe that's what they did last year. Let me double check. Like, the other question you have to ask yourself, that has to be injury affected, right? Oh, sorry, that's played. Oh my goodness. Sydney, 111? 110? Okay, they didn't send James Jordan to him last year. But Sydney may not use James Jordan as a tagger this year. I think there's a real likelihood that happens. Like, I think the tagger discussion is interesting because The Saints could say, hey, we want Marcus Windhager to just be like a defensive type midfielder now, where he's like an in and under, like Josh Dunkley. I'm going to throw his name around for argument's sake. He might be one of those. He doesn't tag. The Giants may decide, hey, look, we want Toby Bedford to play as a forward. Our midfield's not as weak this year because we've brought in Clayton Oliver and we're going to have full health cogs. We don't need to tag anymore. The Swans, we may not need to tag anymore because we've got Errol Goulden, we've got Tom Papley, we got all those guys. Like, maybe teams just don't tag this year. Like, that is a real possibility, which obviously makes Nick Dacos... Teams will still pull out tags for Nick Dacos because I think shutting him down is the way to beat Collingwood. But yeah, the other guys may get off scot-free. Like, that is possible. Bergman I spoke about does... In games where he had 60% plus CBAs, he went 108. I think it's 60%. It might be 40%. I don't know. But, like, he's Josh Carr's man, I think. So, all the signs are that he's going to play full-time midfield. This is not Harry Perryman, by the way. This is a much better player. Miles Bergman is a much better player than Harry Perryman. So, I'm dispelling that myth. This is not Harry Perryman. And then Sarong. I could see myself moving off this. Like, round one's going to be bad. Also, how did Freo get Geelong at Goomba in round 1 2 years in a row? That's just... There's something wrong about that. Sorry, Freo supporters. But yeah, this run after that is, like, super good. Like, Melbourne, Richmond, Adelaide, Collingwood, West Coast. Like, it's a good run. I don't know if I want to fade this run. I need to do more research on Caleb Strong. Why was he down last year? Do I think that will happen this year? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. I don't know about Strong, but I think at face value, this is a really good pick. Underpriced. It's the same logic I had with Brayshaw. He's just cheaper this year. I think with Young coming back in, you can move Brayshaw around more. You can't move Caleb Sarong around. He can't play anywhere else. Brayshaw's versatile. Sarong's not. He's going to be in the middle. So if you look at that midfield mix, based on the last match team, it's going to be Shrek in the ruck. And then you're going to have Sarong, Brayshaw, Young, Luke Jackson, probably some... what's that guy's name? Aiden Johnson. Maybe some Murphy Reed, like maybe some Shea Bolton. Like, there's a lot of names to go through there. And Sarong's the one that can't really play elsewhere. So that's why I like Sarong. And that's probably why I'm a little bit against Brayshaw. I don't know where Brayshaw is. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Sarong. Rowell and Anderson have too many buys for me, and they're like max price in my opinion. Obviously, they have a very Mickey Mouse fixture, but you're cashing in on these scores when, as I said, there are other really good captain's options out there. But yeah, you're cashing in on these scores early, and then you've got the 2 buys to deal with. You could argue that these guys are buy flips come round 12. Sure, okay, but then you're using a trade as well. I don't know. They're not for me this year. Like, the back end of the schedule is not great for midfielders. Obviously, Melbourne's okay, but like, it's kind of tough. Degoe, I absolutely dislike a huge amount. CBAs aren't going to be high. Degoe had 1 year of premium scoring, which was under Nathan Buckley when they played Chipmark. And he went 96.6. Just don't do this to yourself. Too injury prone. I just can't see it. Nick Newman. Now, I don't know if I mentioned Nick Newman before, but I really don't like this pick. Why? He's 31, coming off a serious knee injury. He's never been a premium scorer, and he's playing in a Carlton defence that has just moved Zach Williams back and acquired Ollie Florent. There's no way I think Nick Newman is a good pick. And I know he's popular, so this is probably controversial, but this is my real dislike pick. This is the one that I dislike the most out of the ones that we've seen, the top 32 so far. And then there's Jordan Clark, which I think this is a nothing pick. I'm going to be honest, this is a nothing pick. He's priced at what he's going to give you. He's going to give you 105. There's a chance he gives you even less. Does Luke Ryan take all the kickouts? Does Judd McVie get more ball? I don't know. Jordan Clark's not doing it for me. Whitfield I spoke about. Love the buy. Think he's top 6. Think he can score well. He's also got a really good opening fixture for defenders until he hits Sydney. I think I'm going to go Whitfield over Sinclair. Kerno's at 9%. Interesting. Very interesting. I could be if Kerno's cheap. What's their run home like? Ooh. I kind of like this run home. This run home's quite appealing. I don't know. We'll see if this is required at around the buys. Tom De Koning, 9.1%. Wow. It's in the ruck line. That has got to be too much for a guy who is teamed up with a very competent ruckman in Ryan Marshall. I can't imagine doing this. This is not for me. I think, like, if there was a ruckman that the rule changes would help, obviously Tom De Koning's one of those. But yeah, I don't know. I can't do this. Walsh is interesting. The back scares me. But outside of that, I think you could do it. Like, I don't know what his CBAs were last year. What did he even average last year? So he averaged 100 last year and 108 the year before. I don't know. I'm concerned about the back. Like, he's just got too many injuries at this point. Which is a shame. I do like Sam Walsh. Ashcroft I really like, but is he going to get enough CBAs? I'm not sure. If you could guarantee me Ashcroft gets 60% CBAs, I'd pick him. Undoubtedly. Tom McCarthy, 505k. I've ummed and ahed over this pick. He's playing in the midfield. I think midfield at West Coast is not as good as half back at West Coast in terms of the Supercoach role. Obviously, he gets the full preseason now. He's going to get a fully fit Harley Reid. I think best case, this guy gives you 105. And in that scenario, you're getting like 50, 60k value. I just don't think the upside is there to justify it. Like this, if you're a non-owner, this pick cannot hurt you. So that's why I don't think you should start. The reason I was semi-interested, is because I don't like all the defender primos. So yeah, that's my thoughts on McCarthy. Grundy, I mean, you could do it, but he's got to be max price, right? Which, I mean, that's fine in the ruck, but like, I don't know. He went on the most absurd run between rounds 9 and 21. But like, he had such a cupcake run. Like, he got North without Sherry, Essendon without a ruckman, GWS without a ruckman. Ryan Marshall was easy to score against. I think this was no Sean Darcy. Like, I don't know. I just don't see Grundy running it back like that this year. Maybe I'm a hater. I don't know. Dawson I really like, but can't do the buy. Jack Steele, I don't understand this pick at all. I'm a Melbourne man. I love Jack Steele, even though he hasn't played a single game for my club. He's just way too injury prone, and I think he's a little bit too old. I do think he'll be the number one banana, I think it's the term people use, for Melbourne CBAs, but I just can't do it. Josh Dacos is interesting, but again, I don't think this pick can hurt you at the price. But as I said, I am kind of interested in this. Wardlaw, not for me. Bailey Smith is max price in my opinion. Harvey Langford, I don't think gets enough centre bounces to warrant. I think it's his second year. He was so good on the wing last year. I just don't think he gets enough centre bounces this year. Tanner Brown, does he play round 1? I'm not sure. Brayshaw, I think, is max price, so not for me. Sinclair, I spoke about. I quite like with Nazai moving up the ground. I think Nazai gets all the tags. I think I prefer Whitfield though. Ash, I spoke about. I really dislike Ash. I don't think the usage level that he gets is good for the Giants. I think he needs a little bit less and needs to be a little bit more direct. McCluggage, I would imagine, is max price. Fletcher, I don't think gets enough ball. This CJ pick is actually probably interesting if Salem doesn't get up for round 1 for whatever reason. But I don't think I would do it anyway. I spoke about Connor McDonald before. I do actually like it. I think Brent Daniels is a little bit too expensive for me. Jai Cully, I'm not going to do. Archie Roberts, I don't like. The other ones down here that I do like are like Nick Bryan at 3.8%. If he plays round 1, he will be in my side. I promise you. Rochelle, I'm not sure about the role. Heaney, I actually like as a pod. No, I think this is DR's man. Yeah, I like Heaney as a pod. I will say that. But I'm not going to go there myself. And then like Oliver, I couldn't do Oliver. Fraser's interesting, but I just don't think he gets enough CBAs. I think Fraser will be top 6 forward, but I think at this price, like you're not really hurt by fading this. And then like, I don't know, there's some interesting... I prefer Max Holmes to Bailey Smith, I will say that. And then I don't know about any of these other ones. Tom Stewart. Jai Caldwell's way under what I thought he would be. And so is Callum Mills, to be honest. What did Mills average last year? What's he priced at? 100? That is interesting. I don't know why he gave up these stinker scores, though. Mills might be a pick, though, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know if I'll go there. And then Cogs is interesting. Caleb Wins is a big watch for me because I think he will get the midfield role that people think Harvey Langford will get. Harvey Langford, sorry. Yeah, I could talk about these guys for ages, but I think I've yapped enough. So, look, that's my thoughts on Supercoach 2026 at this stage. I'll just flash the team again real quick. This is the team that I have for now. Lots of water to go under the bridge, so this will be very different come round 1. But yeah, let me know your top 3 first picked players that are not rookies below, and let me know the 3 guys who are over, I'll go 10% ownership that you don't like below. But yeah, feel free to discuss anything in the comments as well. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.